Trillion-dollar spending. That's the phrase that stopped investors cold. In a live conversation with investor Brad Gerstner, Sam Altman gets pressed on how OpenAI can justify spending at that scale. Altman's answer? If you want to sell your shares, I'll find you a buyer. Nadella laughs. But that joke lands differently when billions are on the line. Because the real question isn't whether AI is powerful, it's whether the economics make sense. If the business model is unclear, the entire market is trading on belief, and belief can flip overnight. Rewind to November 2022. ChatGPT launches, and suddenly the internet has a new default interface. You ask, it answers. Inside Google, reports said leadership declared code red. Not because of a cool chatbot, but because search, the most profitable machine ever, was being challenged. Google rushed to respond. Bard went public, and then came the demo mistake. The stock dropped, and roughly $100 billion of value vanished in a day. One error, one headline. That's how sensitive markets are when expectations are extreme. Now, jump to 2025, and the mood is different. The race has tightened. Google, Anthropic, and other labs keep pushing, and even OpenAI has said it has gone code red multiple times to respond to competitive threats. The lesson is simple. Dominance is fragile. And when the gap between models shrinks, the moat shifts. It's no longer just who has the best chatbot. It becomes who controls distribution, who gets enterprise contracts, and who can afford the compute bill long enough to stay ahead. Because compute isn't a normal cost. Reports say OpenAI generated about $4.3 billion in revenue in the first half of 2025, yet still burned about $2.5 billion in cash over that same period. That's not a small startup problem. That's industrial-scale spending. And it connects to Altman's bigger vision. The Wall Street Journal reported he explored raising as much as $5 to $7 trillion to expand global chip production for AI. Not to buy more ads, to reshape the supply chain itself. Then you see the infrastructure commitments. In mid-2025, OpenAI announced a partnership with Oracle to develop 4.5 gigawatts of additional data center capacity under its Stargate initiative. Power measured like a small country. And reports say OpenAI agreed to pay Oracle about $30 billion a year for data center services. Here's why critics call it selling air in bottles. The pitch isn't, we're profitable today. The pitch is, build the factories, build the data centers, buy the chips, and the demand will arrive later. It's a bet on the future, financed in the present. That's where leverage enters. OpenAI doesn't need to borrow every dollar itself if partners borrow to build the infrastructure around it. Banks fund projects. Private capital funds projects. Everyone assumes utilization will be high. Everyone assumes the next model pays the bill. But credit analysts are watching the same thing you are. Moody's has warned that overbuilding and tenant demand uncertainty can create real risks for data center financing, especially if customers don't renew or capacity sits unused. In other words, empty buildings don't pay interest. And in December 2025, Bridgewater warned that big tech's growing reliance on external capital to fund this AI build-out is dangerous because spending is racing ahead of internal cash generation. That's how bubbles form. Not fake tech, just financial math that stops working. So, what's the crash scenario? Not OpenAI disappears tomorrow. The realistic risk is a slowdown. Demand grows, but not fast enough. Prices fall, margins compress. And suddenly, the market reprices the entire AI trade, just like the dot-com era, when great technology met terrible valuations. So here's the smarter question. What would prove this isn't a bubble? Sustainable unit economics. Models getting cheaper to run. clear enterprise value, revenue that scales faster than compute. Drop your take in the comments. And if you want more investigations like this, hit like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.